It's nice to see you all again, those on screen or those who are joining us today. Thanks for coming to this workshop. This is the fifth workshop that we've had in a six-part series, and it's Finding Calm in the Storms using EMDR. I am the facilitator, Cara Dixon, and we have been working together in this series to slowly sort of build some skills to manage, um, kind of work on dropping into aspects of our experience that might be difficult or hard and learning how to work with it, different than avoiding or detaching from it, sort of how to allow ourselves to navigate it with the hope that there is a strengthening and empowerment in moving through this experience um, that might feel, parts of it might feel like a storm. So happy to be with you guys today. And today I wanted to work on some techniques for managing disturbance and distraction. So there's two ways I wanted to do that with you today. One is doing something, a lot of our techniques have been like closing our eyes or working with our internal. Today I want to do a technique that sort of demonstrates a skill where we can sort of engage in it externally and then also work with it internally. So by that, I mean, if you guys have a paper and a pen, I'm going to give prompts that you can um, use the paper and pen and write some things down. Or again, just to kind of what I'd like to do today is to help strengthen the ability to both identify and like name some disturbance and distraction, put it in a place that is a bit outside of your yourselves or ourselves, and then being able to decide what we want to do with it. So that's kind of the thread that's going to go through both the external activity that we'll do, and then when we apply it also to by practicing an exercise with imagery, it's the same kind of idea. So first of all, what is a disturbance or a distraction? Disturbance is typically has an emotional response attached to it that is unpleasant. So it might be a association that reminds you of something. So it could be linked to a memory. It could be a thought that comes up. Um, and I'm adding to this idea of disturbance. Like so a lot of times we can have disturbances that are intrusive in nature, like they can jump into our mind or into our day and um, can bring sort of a strong emotional response attached to it. So it can be unpleasant. And distractions are, things that can also kind of flood our conscious awareness. Not all of them are necessarily like bad or harmful, but they might be things that we're, uh, you know, ruminating on or taking over a lot of our thoughts and our attention and our energy, and maybe distracting us from the other things about ourselves or our experience or things that we want to do or other things that we want to think about. So and distraction is not always, like I said, a bad thing. Like sometimes there's things that are very good in our life that we're excited about or want to do, but it's again has that feature of can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So it has that feature that it can kind of like take over, and we might not be ready to have that take as much time or energy that it's going to take. So these techniques are just again to sort of illustrate what to do with that. When things happen inside of us, they can be automatic. Like a lot of times we don't even have conscious awareness of what's happening. We just kind of continue to move through. So really the first part of this technique is paying attention and slowing down and getting some conscious awareness of what is sort of in my mind and in my awareness that might feel like a disturbance or a distraction today. So if you have a pen and paper, what I want you to do is I have my pen and paper, draw a circle, and put in there anything that feels like a disturbance or a distraction for you today. And I'm using a circle because a circle can be very containing, just like we've done the container technique that has, sides, and we can put it into something that the circle, it has a containment to it. It's different than sort of an open page that, so with any of our trauma exercises, circles can be very grounding. So just kind of putting in that circle, again, this is just an exercise, but thinking in your minds, what is sort of, as I slow down and as I pay attention today, what is sort of a disturbance or a distraction that I'm experiencing? And so again, the part of this technique is just identifying it. And the second part is really being able to put it outside of yourself. So even just putting it on the paper in sort of that circle, it's being able to put it out of yourself temporarily, right? And to just see it. A lot of times when things are happening to us, sometimes it gets like what's happening to us feels like it's us, like I am what's happening in my day. And so really being able to put it outside of us, like this is me as a person, and this is something that's happening to me, is a way of kind of noticing and observing it rather than it getting into other parts of our being and our understanding of ourselves. So that can be another thing that is very grounding, is just to put it outside of yourself. These are the things that feel disturbing and distracting to me. I am not these. I am not what happened to me. But these are outside of me temporarily. And then on other parts of the page, you might put other parts of your life. Just like take a minute and brainstorm other parts of your life, other things that maybe are outside of the disturbance or the distraction, other things that you are interested in, connected to. Just kind of a quick brainstorm. So you might hear this word like trigger. So trigger is or activated. When we have something that we get triggered by or activated by, it can bring some of these disturbances and distractions can sort of take over our ability to think clearly or operate. And the way I wanted to illustrate this for you today is it's kind of like on this paper, when we are triggered, the proximity of what's happening to us can come very close, so that all we're able to see is kind of that trigger, right? This is just kind of my creative way of illustrating that if you were to do this with your paper right now, you would realize you kind of lose sight of everything else on the page when it gets that close, right? So I don't know if there's certain things that feel that close to you today, and that sort of some of those you've been triggered and those disturbances or distractions seem big. And so it's putting it down, getting it outside of yourself. And then the last part is really just being able to step back from it a bit. So all of the exercises that we've done to this point have been ways that we've talked about grounding, we've talked about containment, we've talked about mindfulness, right? All of these techniques and strategies are really helping to slow your nervous system down and helping to kind of take some steps back, which should sort of open up awareness to other things and put what is happening in a place where you then are able to decide how you want to respond to it, or when and how you want to come to terms with it. That's kind of for example, the container method. That was an imagery exercise that we did where we put stuff into a container. Again, not to ignore the powerful things that are happening to you, but for you to get to decide when and how you want to come to terms with them, right? So you might think about, again, we're not in person to do this exercise together, but I wonder if you could even imagine, like, how close does that paper feel to you today? And how much is it sort of really, even just some deep breathing and mindfulness can be a first step of bringing our awareness into the present focus and getting grounded. That's almost like stepping back a little bit and allowing it sort of temporarily to shift to a place. Yeah, yeah. There's there's two things, like I said, we're going to practice right now to attend to that. Thank you for sharing. So taking a minute to just find the ground beneath your feet, notice that sensation. And we're going to take a few minutes to practice some of our grounding techniques, just to get our minds into the present. Again, now that this is discharged on the page, we can leave it there. See if you can temporarily just bring your attention into the present moment, noticing just what the sensation of the ground beneath your feet feels like in this moment right now. And just take some deep, nourishing breaths in and out, whatever way feels most comfortable to you. Just slowly allowing yourself to deepen and lengthen the breath. And using the awareness of the ground beneath your feet, or again, that chair holding you, to anchor into this moment. You are here now. You are safe now. You've landed. And bringing your mind again and your awareness into just the sensation, breathing, listening to the sound of my voice, bringing in that sensory awareness into this moment. Yeah. And just slowing down and breathing. Good. And I want to transition to an imagery exercise now to practice working with disturbance and distraction internally. And imagery helps us to do that. So we kind of drop in and we let our mind create a place for that today. And we're actually going to practice a technique that shows us how to get a little bit of space from it. So this technique is called the stadium technique. And what I want you to do is, in your mind's eye, bring up an image of a stadium. It can be any stadium. And I want you to imagine that any disturbance, distraction, or thing that you're not necessarily ready to come to terms with at this moment is in the middle. Put it in the middle of the stadium. So see if you can just sort of let it go there now. It could be an argument. It could be a image of something that was troubling. It could be a memory. Just let it go into the center of that stadium now. And I want you to imagine that you are seated in the first row of the stadium. Okay, so find your seat, you're seated. You notice the feeling of the chair as you sit in it. And take a minute to look onto that stadium and notice what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you're thinking. And then taking a deep breath, breathing out, standing up, walking to the end of the aisle. And I want you to imagine walking up the stairs and going to the middle of the stadium. So walk up those stairs and find a seat in the middle of the stadium. And sit down in that seat. Notice the back of the chair on your back, ground beneath your feet. And again, observing what you see, what you hear, what you feel, where that you're feeling that inside. And then standing up again, walking to the end of the aisle. And this time I want you to walk all the way to the back of the stadium, where the nosebleed section, where the wall is behind you. And again, noticing what you see, what you hear, what you feel. Good. So coming back to external awareness when you're ready. A lot of times when we come out of imagery exercises, we can count to 3 and bring back conscious awareness to the external, and sometimes even just taking a stretch, stretching our bodies and bringing ourselves back into the here and now, just simply by noticing that stretch, noticing our body moving, orienting back. Yeah. So that again is a very quick version of an exercise that we kind of worked externally to put some stuff on the page. And again, when things are on the page, it can give us a little bit more choice point around, we can kind of understand how close we are to what we're experiencing, what skills we might want to practice to get a little bit of distance or to get into the position to observe and notice it and then decide what we want to do with it. I have some people who want to sort of like close the page for a little bit and just, put it away for a bit and then maybe circle a part of it. Like I kind of want to work with this part, but not all the rest of this, so you get a little bit more agency over how you want to work with what you're experiencing right now. And then of course, even just putting it on the page, taking even just that second to notice other parts of your life can also be a good reminder, kind of grounding to see like there's other things. This is not all that I am. And I can also decide to spend time over here. And, what does that look like for me today? If, for example, nature is a part of your life, maybe I want to go for a little walk today and sort of, I've put this down, I can close this book and take a little time to nurture other parts of my life today. So But then we practiced going internal, right? And we practiced another technique that works with sort of regulating our emotional response by internally getting some distance or separation from what's going on inside of us. That technique that I demonstrated pretty quickly, but we don't have the time to process what that was like. But hopefully you got a kind of sense of like, it's not just thinking about it. Like a lot of all of EMDR, we're not just thinking about it or cognitively working with it. We're sort of dropping in to notice it from all parts of our experience. How does it make you feel? Where do you feel in your body? What are some of those thoughts coming up? And then we're kind of moving in that, right? Let's stand up. Let's put ourselves in the middle, right? So another way of kind of getting it outside of yourselves. And I have I work with clients to then move back to the front row and then move back to the middle and then move back to the back. So we're really exercising, again, that kind of ability to both regulate and also have a little bit of agency, feeling your own self and your body and what's happening or what feels disturbing or distracting outside of yourself a bit. So I hope these techniques were helpful. There's a lot of different techniques for managing disturbance, distraction, or another thing that I touched on was just the intrusive thoughts or images. Sometimes even just like naming, that was an intrusive thought that jumped into my mind. And being that can sometimes like name it like, whoa, that was an intrusive image and that was really disturbing. And that's not something I want to have jump in on me right now. I'm not ready. It can it's flooding my awareness. And again, you can go back to any of our exercises that we've done to this point. You can practice the container on that. You can practice the calm state and bring yourself to, again, reducing some of that noise and linking to, um, you know, things that feel calm or safe or grounding, or you can even simply just practicing that grounding or some deep breathing to get yourself centered again until that intrusive thought or image passes. And so I hope this was helpful today, and I will see you guys next week for number 6. And in that last session, I hope to wrap everything up and give you guys plenty of ways to continue to practice and feel linked. Again, this is such a great community that you have here and so much support here. So I'm really feel honored to be a small part of that and contribute, some of the tools and techniques that we have in EMDR in the hope that it supports you guys. All right. Have a good rest of your day.